Hello and welcome to our report from plenary in Strasbourg. The key debate here before the summer recess focused on the EU's next long-term budget framework. The Commission published its proposals a few days before MEPs convened in Strasbourg, but it didn't include all of the proposals Parliament had made a few weeks earlier.
Commission President José Manuel Barroso said it was a budget that focused on achieving the EU's 2020 objectives for growth and employment.
In
particular, we're proposing a significant increase of 46% in the amount foreseen for research and innovation and the strengthening of education, training and European youth programs.
But it was also a budget that didn't take into account proposals by Spanish MEP Salvador Garriga for a 5% increase in the EU's budget for 2014 to 2020, proposals which were adopted by MEPs in June.
Lamentamos, sin embargo,
We regret, however, that the 5% increase in resources requested by members has not been taken into account by the Commission. This near freeze in financial resources will leave us without any margin for negotiations with the Council if they reject the Commission's proposals and cut resources.
Si este rechaza finalmente la propuesta de la Comisión y reduce los recursos.
The Member States and the EU institutions are at loggerheads about increasing the EU's budgets in times of austerity, but Parliament, like the Commission, has emphasized the increased efficiency and cost savings that can come from pooling resources rather than doubling up costs in national budgets. Salvador Garriga said that the EU should be a reference for the future, not a scapegoat for national shortcomings, and that we needed to invest in growth.
We appreciate the efforts on cohesion, new trans-European networks, energy efficiency, immigration, on own resources and on research especially.
But he criticized the significant cut in spending on agriculture in the Commission's proposals.
We regret that the common agricultural policy is the only policy that loses in net terms so that other common policies gain. You must deal with the legitimate concerns of those members active on agriculture.
Information for consumers on food products can be confusing, and sometimes that's the intention. But now there will be a new set of European rules on food labelling, as Parliament has approved legislation drafted by German MEP Renate Sommer.
This regulation will give consumers more and better information on food so that they can make well-informed purchase decisions. But this is not all. The European food industry will also benefit. Legal certainty, less bureaucracy, and better regulation is the goal. This is especially important for small and medium-sized enterprises, and it is important to know that SMEs make up over 80% of the food sector in the European Union.
This new legislation will bring to an end tiny writing on food packaging, which consumers require magnifying glasses to read.
The most important thing, all information must be legible. We have defined readability, we have set a minimum font size, and instructed the Commission to set binding rules for other factors, such as the color contrast between the writing and the background.
In the process of defining new rules for food labelling, Sommer's ambition has been to avoid unnecessary bureaucracy, which could threaten local producers.
At the same time, we are protecting the industry from excessive costs and bureaucracy. Allergen information must be supplied on pre-packed, fresh produce, but not complete nutritional information, which can only be determined through expensive analysis. Originally, the Commission wanted this, but that would have ruined our national and regional specialties and delicacies. This would have given us uniform European food, and that is why we stopped it.
There can be few more important priorities for the EU than helping to protect its citizens from a terrorist attack. This week, MEPs have been focusing on how to enhance security at airports.
It's a tough question for the EU to answer. How do we improve security at airports while at the same time ensuring that the privacy and fundamental rights of citizens are protected? Security scanners have been hailed as a major breakthrough in the battle to prevent would-be terrorists from getting onto planes. These devices are capable of showing if a passenger is carrying items attached to the body. But campaigners against body scanners have expressed concerns about radiation and say the machines are too intrusive. Luis de Grandes, a Spanish MEP from our group, is the author of an own initiative report which has examined this issue in great detail. He's adamant that security scanners have an essential part to play in making our lives safer.
As for the protection of fundamental rights, the new generation of scanners meet all the requirements: human dignity, respect for privacy, non-discrimination and ensuring a high level of protection of human health. They comply with the definition and implementation of all policies and actions in the Union, including those in the Charter of Fundamental Rights of the EU.
Mr. de Grandes acknowledged that some people had concerns about security scanners, but he told MEPs that the technology these machines use is improving all the time. He also wanted to dispel a few misunderstandings about scanners.
The current systems are not the ones usually portrayed by the media and by opponents of the scanners. The proposed systems do not show the human body, but a standard figure, a doll, a photograph of the passenger clothed, or just a simple green light when the passenger does not set off an alarm.
The de Grandes report was adopted by the Parliament, although whether this means citizens will be more reassured about security scanners remains to be seen.
MEPs also welcomed the Polish presidency of the Council and gave the floor to Prime Minister Donald Tusk to present its priorities. They were pleased to hear a fervent plea in favour of more Europe to cope with the current financial and immigration crises.
Dzisiejszy kryzys.
In his long exposé, Donald Tusk reminded MEPs of how divided Europe was not so long ago, and how the European Parliament helped Poland and other Eastern European countries when they were living under communist dictatorship. The Polish Prime Minister set the strengthening of EU cohesion as top priority for his country's presidency, arguing that less Europe is not the answer to the financial crisis and that the introduction of internal border controls would not resolve the problem of illegal immigration. He pointed out that the Union's institutions and their budget were not at the root of the crisis. Consequently, the worst that could happen to Europe and to its citizens is a return to nationalism and to less Europe.
That's all for this session, but we'll be back after the summer break in the second week of September with more news from plenary. In the meantime, keep up to date on our website, eppgroup.eu, and have very happy holidays.